I struggle to understand why Clemson is still predicted by many to make the college football playoff. That's kind of a statement. He continues, haven't seen enough from them to make me hop on the train. I think they missed the ACC championship game for the second year in a row. Let's just break this down in reverse order. So let's say we're sitting here in December. As Clemson, currently with the fourth best odds to win the national championship, mind you, misses the ACC championship game again. Remember how big a surprise that was? Do you remember last December? Forget about this December. Do you remember last December? And remember the previous August, as we just keep going further and further back in time? Remember how big a slam dunk it was? Even I thought so. I think we sat on this very show, or Late Kick Live at least, and in the white t-shirt, I asked what would have to happen, absent catastrophic injury, for this team to miss the playoff, much less the ACC championship game. And like we were talking about, outside of like DJ Uiagalelei being hurt, who we thought was going to be an All-American at the time, no one saw any way it could happen, because even if Clemson had a down year, quote unquote, who was going to step up and take their spot? Well, they lost 2 games, and they had a down year to the point where they didn't even play for the ACC championship. So anyway, that happened last year. But then you come out and, you got the whole talking point around the program that we're better for that, we're going to learn from it. And like I said a couple of minutes ago, we come into this year, Caesars right now I think has them as the 4th best odds to win the national championship. That's probably going to be reflected throughout the betting market. Say all that to tee us back up to the question, what if they miss it again? If they miss it again, it kind of reverts back to the point that I've continued to make with Clemson, that makes them one of, with Texas, the most interesting programs in the country this year, because of the possibility that could happen. Because of the possibility that Clemson could miss out on the ACC championship game. And then what we would have is that Tiger Paw, which has come to be one of the premier brands in college football, would, for the second consecutive year, be down to the point where they miss even playing for a title in a very, very winnable conference. And all of a sudden you start asking, is everything about Clemson being a superpower in the rearview mirror? Have we seen the rise and then the peak and now kind of the waning, if you will, of Clemson as a superpower? Now, everybody around Clemson is going to say no. I'm inclined to say no as well. Maybe not quite as emphatic as the locals there. I don't think they're done. No, I don't think that by any stretch. But also, I think Alabama has warped a lot of the way we watch the sport. You think about Alabama, they've been on a sustained run of excellence for a decade and a half. Okay, so then you frame everyone else against that backdrop. And because this team, because Clemson under Dabo, has been able to beat them twice, they've been the one that's gone head-to-head with Bama most effectively, you think, well, there's no way they're done. There's no way, because Bama's done it this long, so there's no way Clemson just did it that long. But yet in reality, what history shows us is most runs aren't sustained like the Bama decade and a half plus run. USC, at their very best, how long was that? It felt like forever when you were in it, but it was a few years. That's all it was. So you can go back and think about any of them, but there are more so many dynasties in college football than these long extended dynasties. But if you're 21 years old, like a bunch of our college listeners, all you know in terms of college football dynasty is Bama. So you think if Clemson's well on their way to it, no, there's no way they're done. So I can get people who root against them because, if you win a lot, you got people who root against you. But I also understand the people who don't really care. They don't love or hate Clemson, but they may just need to see a little more, because that's where I am. In fact, I will go a step further. I kind of pull for the program because more and more so I've gravitated towards some of Dabo Swinney's way of thinking about the sport. And like I've told you before, even when I disagree with him, I respect that I know his motives are best intentioned for the game overall. That's my opinion of him. But anyway, when I look at Clemson, no, I don't think that they're out of things by any stretch of the imagination. But if they are, if that has been the pinnacle and we've seen it, and now they just kind of become another really good team in the ACC, hey, that doesn't just impact Clemson. Then all of a sudden we're talking about, well, any of a number of programs. We're talking about Mike Norvell in Florida State. We're talking about Mario Cristobal at Miami. We're certainly talking about Pitt, both the Virginia schools, North Carolina, NC State. That could be this year that they win the ACC if the aforementioned scenario were to play out. So currently, Clemson with a plus 1,400 shot at winning the national championship. That's winning the whole thing. We'll see. I don't think it would be the wildest thing if they miss out again this year. But if they do miss out again this year, it would be the biggest headline, barring something really, really big happening in the sport.